Welcome back to part 2. I'm Isabel O'Brien and we're continuing our discussion with today's guest. Let's get straight back into it. I now want to move on to the industry's role. So we know historically not all drugs have been tested on women. In fact, many haven't, at least not to the proportion that we would really expect.
Sure.
What do you think is the single most impactful change the industry could make right now to put women's health first? Is it clinical trials? Is it something else?
It's a lot of different things, but clinical trials is certainly something that we need to do more of. Women need to be more representative in clinical trials so that we understand what different treatments have in terms of outcomes, both in consequence in terms of efficacy or in side effect profiles. And there's lots of reasons why women weren't included in clinical studies before, especially when you're looking at healthy volunteers to participate in a study. And a healthy volunteer could be in that period where a woman is reproductive. And by including a woman in a clinical study where there is an unknown around potential side effect profile that could have impact on the fetus, or it could have had impact on miscarriage, or it could have impact also in terms of her ability to be pregnant. So there was a lot of ethical, moral reasons why that women weren't included. But there was also true judgment that was employed as well in terms of not including women because of where she was in her cycle and hormonal impact on what could lead to a difference in an outcome on very expensive trials that have very narrow pathways for approvals. So there's the different reasons as to why women were not included. Some ethically justified, some not. And I think what I think is happening now with more venture money that's coming into women's health and really understanding that hormonal journey and also trying to make sure that we look at different studying retrospective data as well in terms of this massive amount of information that's out there, and AI will be helpful in doing this as well, is looking at retrospectively how women have performed with certain treatments like migraine and like cardiovascular profiles. I think we're going to learn a lot more, but there's a lot more energy coming into this, and with venture money and some of these women femtech startups. I think we're going to learn a lot more as we go back and we pour through all of this retrospective data. I think we're going to learn a lot that women have probably been either undertreated, overtreated for certain conditions, and I think that will lead to a lot more understanding and hopefully better training for physicians and more educational resource for women as well.
And I suppose you guys are quite unique in the fact that you are focusing on women's health. So I suppose most of the people you are recruiting for trials are women. So is there anything you can share from that perspective that you perhaps do differently when it comes to recruitment or something similar?
When you look at our company is singularly focused on women. So the studies that we've been involved in through licensing arrangements and through partnerships with other innovators, the clinical studies that have been performed on the products that we have in the marketplace have all been women enrolled in these studies. There's a couple of products that also have indications for men as well. But the vast majority of things that we're involved in are 100% focused on women. So it is very rare. We're one of the very few companies that are out there that are singularly focused on women's health. And I think that's something that we're very proud of and something that we're going to continue to focus on going forward.
And is there any specific insights you would share around being a company that only works within women's health for companies that perhaps that's not their only area, but they want to do better in terms of including women in their clinical research?
Well, for one, this is our livelihood, right? So this is this is what we do every day. This is why we get up in the morning and go to work, and is to make this difference in society, so it is a unique value proposition for us. But what we learn because of that focus, and because we don't have distractions on so many other therapeutic areas, or and because we're again core focused on just women's health, that it allows us to study things even retrospectively. Like I mentioned, understanding cardiovascular profiles. One of the publications that we've got coming up, I can't mention the specific name, and I won't, because for promotional reasons, I can't disclose that. But we've found that one of our products had a very significant improvement in cardiovascular outcomes compared to what a standard of care therapy had been years ago. And I think because, again, this is our dedication, this is where our focus is, it allows us to look at things differently. It allows us to study things differently. And we're able to, I think, bring conclusions and outcomes and publications that I think are going to be very important for treatment paradigms going forward.
Okay. So let's move on to the future now. I'd like you to picture women's healthcare in the next decade. What does success look like, perhaps on an industry level, and like what needs to happen today for us to get there?
Well, one thing is better training for physicians, and
Yeah.
and better resources for women, so that they can have better engagements with their physicians. I'll use the UK NHS as an example here. Today, it's appalling that a woman would have to potentially wait. My wife has to wait over a year to get a gynecological screening. That in today's day, I mean, that's appalling. There should never be that kind of a wait list. So I think one of you look about the future and utopia is having better access, faster, more rapid access. Better trained physicians that where are having better engagements. I think all of that would lead to better outcomes for women, and because I do think in many of these situations, treating earlier, having access earlier, dealing with her issues faster leads to a better productive life for her and better outcomes for her. Women suffering from endometriosis and waiting for surgery for as long as she may have to wait for, that is a period of time where it's uncontrolled bleeding, super uncomfortable, pain and discomfort, leading to, like you said, some of the mental health, challenges. These are utopia is faster access, better, more efficiency in the system, and also better equality, because and I'll use the UK again here as the example. It's a bit of a postcode lottery in terms of whether or not you have access and what type of access that you have. And I think leveling up and bringing better, more quality, more trained physicians, better care, I think would be incredibly important for us to solve for this. But that's going to mean employer intervention. That's going to mean governments funding these initiatives. It's going to require more NHS resources going through training and better training. And so all of us have a responsibility in that, whether it be government, whether it be employers, whether it be physicians, whether it be the NHS. All of us have a responsibility to that, and we will play our part.
Well, that's a brilliant call to action, I think, depending on where you are in the healthcare ecosystem. But yeah, Rob, I think you're completely right. Everyone has a role to play, including myself, women. We have our role to play. Industry has their role to play. Men definitely have their role to play. So it's been a pleasure to chat with you, Rob. You're clearly really passionate about this.
Well, I really enjoyed the conversation as well, and I'm really glad that there's channels like this, like yours, and the effort that you're putting out there. to try and help amplify that message, because that's the only way this gets done, is that with the more reach that we have, the more conversations that we have, the better chance that we have in bringing and influencing change. And so I thank you for your interest in this, and the opportunity to share our views, and within Theramex, on how we're trying to help this cause, and why we come to work every day and work hard to try and make a difference.
Well, a huge thanks to Rob for joining me for that episode. In terms of key takeaways, well, I really liked what he was saying about the importance of listening to women's experiences. As he highlighted, real progress starts only when we understand those lived experiences of patients, and when we translate them into action across policy, research, and clinical practice. Look, while progress is being made, I think there is still a long way to go, and it's really important to keep having these conversations to keep that momentum moving forward. But I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the EMJ Gold Podcast. If you're not already, please subscribe and also follow us across our social channels, particularly on our newly launched Instagram account, which you can find at the handle @emj.gold. But until next time, it's bye from me. Thank you for tuning in.